Alright, what is up, guys? So today I want to do a review of two knives. And maybe offer some advice for one of them. Hopefully I have some time to explain. So here we have two knives by BlackBalisongs. This is the Mist. On the right here we got the Mist, which is, I think, $430 USD. It is full titanium, and I think M390 blade steel. And then here we have the Rebola V2, which is G10 scales, titanium liners, and then I think same blade steel as well. I have a lot of stuff under there. I am moving back from college, and a lot of stuff is waiting to be put in its right place as of now. So I'm just gonna cover it up and pretend it doesn't exist for this video. But yeah, I think it'd be good to get started on the Mist. I want to preface, I've only flipped these for about an hour or two, I'd say. Like collectively, I've probably spent like an hour with this, hour with that. And I just want to give my initial thoughts. Maybe those will change the longer I have it. But I think I already have a pretty good sense of what I think about these knives in general. And I want to preface that I messaged BlackBalisongs and was like, hey, do you mind if I make this kind of video and give my honest review? And he was like, yeah, sure, go for it, publish it, do whatever. So I hope that anything I have that's negative to say about any of these knives can be used as something for, constructive criticism, let's say, something that can help out in the future making or refining of these knives. Okay, so all in all, let's start with the Mist because it is more expensive, and I think I have less things to say about this knife, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. So initial reaction, I honestly, if I were to close my eyes and ears, I would say that it honestly feels like a serif. And I say that with full knowledge, having a serif right here. Now, the reason I say it feels like a serif is maybe just a little bit heavier. Serif is pretty light now that I compare it. Is that it feels long, and it feels actually extremely well balanced. Even though I am somebody that prefers neutral balance, this has a slight handle bias, I'd say. And it's enough to be extremely comfortable. And it has that long feeling that the serif has, right? Like you pick up the serif, you start flipping it, and one of the first things you notice is just how long of a knife it is, The handles, because and these handles as well kind of mirror the serif in the sense that they start thinner and they end up getting longer, but not too long. Or they start thinner and end up getting wider, but not too wide, right? And they have this very it is very square-like, similar to the serif. And while the edges are comfortable, you can definitely tell that it is a square kind of handle shape, and I think that plays to this knife's benefit, actually. I love the serif, and so when I say that this honestly feels like a serif, I mean that with 100%, like, as a compliment, right? All in all, I'll do a quick sound test. In my opinion, it sounds great. I love the bounciness. It sounds great. Design-wise, like, this is one of the coolest blades I've ever seen. It's like this weird kind of Tonto almost, but I don't know. I think it looks sick. Handles, really cool design. I think it is a little interesting how there's these, vertical divots that switch off every hole. if you could see that. I think that's a little bit of an interesting design choice. Maybe not something that, it's creative. It's maybe not something that I would have thought of. But yeah, like I said, balance-wise, it feels like a comfortable handle biased. It feels very like a knife that you can flip slow and just focus on your flow with, right? It has that long feeling. It feels very controlled. It doesn't feel like it's ever going to do something that I don't want it to do. And it's very predictable. It fans really nice. And I think that's part of the benefit of it being really long, and especially with this blade that has a lot more, right? Because it's not entirely tip weight. Like, all the weight isn't up at the top. It's more of like this upper half area that has a lot of the blade weight. And I think that's really well constructed, in my opinion, because I think that having all the weight at the very end of the tip can oftentimes be a little bit negative, have a negative effect on the knife and make it feel a little awkward at times. So I think the fact that this is very well balanced is a key reason that it feels like a serif to me, honestly. So for $430, this actually like blows away my expectations. I have never flipped anything by BlackBalisongs before. You know, I know they have like the Farfalla or the there's another one that starts, I can't think of it. There's another one that starts with R. If I think about it later, I will. Oh, the Reaper. The Reaper and then the Rebola. I confuse the two all the time. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm familiar with the other designs. And, I mean, honestly, BlackBalisongs does a great job in terms of art and design. Like, all the knives look stunning. And I've seen the mod work he does. Like, it is just, he actually is so stunning with what he does. Like, it is very crazy and impressive. But I didn't have a lot to spend when I wanted to get these knives, and so I figured let's just get them stock, you know, in case I don't like them. I won't feel bad for putting more money into them than I would have wished. And additionally, I kind of bought this because I heard that he was doing a promo that, you know, buy one knife, get a Rebola V2 for free. And I was like, what? That's got to be a steal. Like, I can't pass up on this offer. And so I bought the Mist, spent $430 on it, and I got a Rebola. So, if you guys are interested in doing the same deal, I suggest that you check out BlackBalisongs and maybe pick up a Mist. Like, honestly, this thing is a really solid knife, and I will be keeping it in my collection. I don't plan on selling it. It is a very comfortable, solid. It feels more sturdy than a serif, I will say, because of that. It is a little bit heavier, but I think balance-wise and flipping-wise, it's more of that long, kind of flowy, focused flipper. And I think that is 100% a good thing, and it makes it very unique, because obviously it's not exactly like the serif, and it has its own little quirks, and I think it's very bouncy. It sounds great. Great tune, basically no play. And yeah, just like design wise, I love this blade. It is a really cool blade shape. And I think it just is overall for $430, high quality titanium with high quality steel blade. I don't think I could ever go wrong, right? Sandwich construction with these really cool spacers. I mean, it almost looks like they're floating, but they're not. But, you know, kind of like what the Aeon did by AMKW, you know, with those floating spacers that have, like, the washers separating them from the actual sandwich handles, you know. I think that's really interesting. It kind of gives off that same vibe, even though I don't think they are those floating kind of spacers, okay? So, Mist, I give it a 10 out of 10. If you kind of like the serif and you want something that feels more of like a tank, or even looks more like a tank, more just like a almost badass knife, I feel like, go with the Mist. The Mist is actually genuinely one of the coolest knives I think I have in my collection now. Okay, so that's the Mist. Now, moving on to the Rebola. So at first, when I got this, I was kind of like, wow, this thing feels really weird. And I didn't have any other way to describe it. And I honestly don't know how I should describe it. I'll go through its, details again one more time, right? So it's G10 scales. The G10 feels good, by the way. It doesn't feel like cheap G10. It might need to be broken in a little bit. Like it is a little bit dry to the touch, but I think that's just because it's, literally brand new. So I think as I kind of break into it, maybe get a little bit more like hand oils into it. I think that sounds a little gross, but that's just, when it comes to G10, that's just how it is, Part of that chalkiness goes away as some, moisture or like hand oils get in there. But overall, it feels really smooth, the G10, and comfortable. So no complaints there. It's titanium liners. Again, sandwich design with those spacers. And overall, I think it, we need more sandwich design. So I like the sandwich design, and I support that aspect 100%. So I don't really know how I should approach my review of this other than to just point out the things that I don't like. But before I do that, I think it's better to say things that I do like about it just off first glance, right? I think overall, if I didn't know how this felt in the hands and I was just looking at pictures, I think it looks really cool. Like, it is a really amazing design. The blade with the 4 holes, it getting wider at the top, like, it looks really aesthetically pleasing. And especially these kinds of hole cutouts in the handles and how the G10 doesn't cover the whole face of the handles, okay? So I think that's great. And I really like that, actually. Design-wise, it deserves high praise, right? But I do have a lot of things that I think I should say about this knife that make me, hesitant about whether I want to keep it or not, right? And I think the best way is to just jump right into those things and just list them out and maybe explain why I think that, okay? So first off, right, I think design-wise, this gap in the G10 on the handles and these holes here, like this divot, it kind of, it's this one layer divot of G10, and then it's a second layer divot of G10, right? So there's this part here and up here, and then there's this even lower part down here and here, right? And I think, quite frankly, even this is a little bit too much of a divot. But this, like, when you're flipping it and you, like, right, my hand is just naturally in this position where my thumb is in between here. For me, I personally don't like it. It feels like I'm holding on to, like, I don't know, sets of, like, thin bars on each side, because all my finger is making contact with is this side and this side, right? And I don't know what it is about that, but that's just not comfortable. So while it looks actually really aesthetically pleasing, I think my one suggestion is to find a way to either lower this G10 so that this, difference of titanium liner with this G10 face is not as bad, or just get rid of this gap entirely and make the whole face G10. I don't really know. I think there should be a way to get rid of this huge decrease in like surface height, I guess is one way to put it. And I think it's definitely something that should be a little bit adjusted, because flipping wise, it does not really feel comfortable. It just feels weird, honestly. Okay. Balance-wise, what do I think of it balance-wise? Well, the handles feel short. I don't know if they're actually that short relatively. I mean, let's compare. No, I am wrong. Okay. You see, they're basically right next to each other. These handles are comparatively shorter. I don't think it should be as long as the Mist, right? The Mist does have a long feel to it, but I think because this knife has such heavy end weight on both the blade and the handles, I think the handles need to be a little longer, right? It is I would say balance-wise, it is extremely handle biased. And so much so that it makes fans feel tiring or like uncomfortable. Like it doesn't want to go into a fan nearly as much as like even a Kraken, right? Which is something that is handle biased, but has enough length to go into a fan and feel decently comfortable. Obviously, the level of comfortability for a fan is relative to whoever. Like, some people only like a fan on a blade bias knife, and that's totally fine. But I think you have to be really careful with handle bias knives, because if it's too handle bias, like, it doesn't matter what your preferences are. Like, at a certain point, like, most people are gonna say, like, yeah, it feels weird to fan, right? And I think it mainly comes down to these end weights. Like, I think these end weights are just really heavy altogether. And so I think one easy fix to that could be just reduce or offer a spare set of spacers that can be swapped out here that are lighter. And I think that would fix the balance problem. Additionally, I would say make the handles longer. On top of that, like, on top of reducing the handle weights, make the handles a little bit longer, but not so long that they're, the same length as the Mist. I would say just a teeny tiny bit longer, because it does feel very blocky and stubby and short. And, this blade is really cool, but you can tell that the blade, at least to me as well, the blade feels short, and it feels short and thick and stubby. I don't know, like, this whole knife to me just gives off like short and thick and stubby. And so I think, like, if I had to fix it, one of the things I would do is, I really like how it has focused end weight, right? In the blade, there's a lot of tip weight. You can see that the blade starts thinner, and then there's more and more metal as you get towards the tip, and I think that's great, right? Like, I'm all for it. But where I find the problem is, it just is short, both in terms of the blade and in terms of the handles, and I just think that it comes out very clearly in the way it feels while flipping. So like I said, I would just extend these handles just a little bit, reduce the handle weights, and quite frankly, maybe make the blade a little bit longer as well. I don't know, like, obviously you don't want this to become like a fucking, not even a real knife, because it's just proportions are out of whack. But I think this knife is really, or the blade shape is actually really interesting, right? Even because these holes, like, a lot of the weight is towards this tip. And I like the look of it because of how wide it is at the tip versus the base of the knife. But it does, with this short build right now, it does feel very weird, I'd say. And I would also just be wary that if you made these handles longer and kind of reduce the handle weight, if maybe this blade would match that balance profile. So I'm just not sure. I think overall, though, the thing to fix is this handle weight and short, stubby feeling. And I think part of that comes from how blocky it feels. Like, it is very thick. It is very square. And I think by adding these, like, huge gaps right here in the G10 that your fingers just sink into. Like, my thumb doesn't even reach the bottom. Like, I know it looks like it, but my thumb is dead ass not touching the titanium right now. Like, I cannot feel the titanium. I can't feel those holes. And I am trying. Like, I am actively pushing my thumb in there. And so I think maybe even just, like, these are, like, micro adjustments, but I really think that they would change the feel of the knife entirely. So I would say make the handles just a teeny tiny bit longer. I would say reduce the thickness of the handles altogether, so that you fix this weird difference in surface height, right? Like, this is just an uncomfortable gap. And I don't think, like, while it is aesthetically pleasing and it looks good, I don't think it's something that makes for a comfortable flipper. And, you know, I think it's really hard, but the goal is to balance both aesthetics and flipping. And I think this does really well in aesthetics, but kind of flops in the flipping performance. And while it does get the job done right, like it definitely, I can do all my tricks that I want to on. It sounds great. It has no play. Right. I think a lot of things about this knife just feel weird because of, like I said, this gap right here where it's just such a deep divot, right? And I think ultimately what I would do is maybe make these spacers just like millimeter thinner, reduce the line, make the liners just go squished a little bit more, and then keep the G10, but extend this all the way and maybe just have the G10, right? You see these hole cutouts in the titanium. I would say maybe just, you know, drag the G10 all the way up and just have it have the same hole cutouts as these titanium liners so you can still see all the way through. Because I think it is a really cool design, and that way you still have this divot area. Like this, the divot right here, it is comfortable. It is a comfortable divot, and like it doesn't feel too strong or aggressive or anything. But this part, it feels, it makes the blocky structure, shape, whatever of the handles come out even more. I don't know why that is necessarily, but just the way that your fingers hold onto this handle, it immediately feels like just weird, not necessarily like uncomfortable, like it hurts, but it's like, I don't really like that, you know, is my initial reaction. And so maybe some of these problems would be fixed by making the handles longer or less handle biased. But I think for this knife, it would be great and have like an insane improvement if this G10 was just brought all the way down, like get rid of this divot here, and we just reduced the handle bias by even just a tiny bit. To me, I think the better option would be to not just reduce spacers, but to lengthen it just a tiny bit and then reduce spacers, right? Because if you lengthen it, obviously there's going to be more handle biased. So I think you should counteract that by having lighter spacers. And then with the G10 face, I think this would become a really competent and aesthetic flipper. But like, right, I love fans, and like I'm like, you can see I'm like really struggling to get this. Like I have to put in a lot of focus to be able to get this fan off smooth, whereas like with the mist, it's like it just feels like it just wants to keep fanning. Whereas like when I try and do the same like rev basic fan, I'm like, okay, I gotta try that again until I get it perfectly, because it just feels so wrong. And you know, maybe to the naked eye you can't really tell a difference, but like look how much that wobbles, you know, like that is, you see how I do the fan and the handle just like vibrates like that. That's a pretty big indicator of handle biased, right? And even towards the end there, you see how much movement the handle has, and the mist basically has so much less, right? It's still there, but it's not nearly as much. And like this makes my whole hand like move when I'm doing a fan, you know, like I feel like my hand is like being shaken around with it. And I think part of that is because there's just so much tip weight. And it just feels like the handles need to be longer. I don't know how to explain it. And I think if there's a way to fix the balance, make the handles longer, and reduce this, somehow fix this, whatever is happening here, I genuinely think this will become like a really competent flipper. And I think even maybe changing the blade shape a little bit could be benefited. Maybe like make this a little less wide and make it just a teeny tiny bit longer. But that would be kind of changing it into more of a Bowie, like an interesting bow. Like, I kind of think that if you made the handles longer, you could get away with more of a, like, these blades are, right, you can see that the Wraith is considerably longer, at least, right, comparing the tips, like, it is considerably longer. And I think this gets away from being long because it has so much tip weight. So it's like, I don't need to be long to get that blade weight because I have it all here. And like that involved with just these it feels short and stubby. I don't know how to describe it other than that. And I just think this is a beautiful design with the G10 and the hole cutouts and everything that I really want it to flip well. And I think just some small, I mean, I'm not a machinist and I'm not a knife designer, but I think, relatively speaking, without trying to redo the whole design of the knife, if you just dragged the G10 down, made these handles a little bit longer, reduced the weight of these spacers, and maybe just made this tip a little bit thinner and moved it up a little bit, like, I genuinely think this would become a really good flipper from that. And honestly, maybe you only have to do, like, 2 of those things, right? Like, I just said, I don't even know, 4 things, whatever. Maybe you only have to do 2 of those. Like, you don't have to do all of them. And maybe even if you did all of them, it would actually end up being terrible. I don't know. But I think if you do 2 of those things at least, it will become much better. And I think priority-wise, it should be this handle face at the highest. This is just uncomfortable, honestly. I don't know how else to put it. It looks good, like I said, and I'm not trying to bash on this knife at all. It looks amazing, and I can tell a lot of work was put into it, and BlackBalisongs should be really proud of the knife they've made here. But to me, it just feels like there's room for improvement, and I really want to be able to, potentially give advice that can, improve the knife, and hopefully this can get that going. This video can get that going, and I hope to share this with BlackBalisong, and maybe he'll reach out or something like that. But that's the goal. And yeah, Rebola V2. My comments on it, you understood. As I've been saying, I think there's like 4 things that could be adjusted. Redoing the tip of the blade, kind of lengthening it a little, redoing this gap here, making the handles a little longer, and then just reducing the spacer weights. And overall, I think that would benefit greatly. As for the mist, I literally can't complain about anything. There's like I genuinely give it a 10 out of 10. It is a fun flipper. It's smooth. It's enjoyable. It's consistent. It feels solid. I have no other way to put it other than a more unique looking and sturdy feeling serif. To me, that's how it feels. And so if you like the serif, I definitely recommend you get it. It honestly kind of feels like just a more robust version. And in my opinion, it looks cooler. So on top of the possibility of you getting it modded by BlackBalisong, like this, if you love the serif, this could be your new favorite knife. So yeah, check out BlackBalisong. Check out the promotion he's doing right now where you get a free Rebola V2. He was really nice in communicating everything about the shipping and whatnot. He's shipping from Mexico, and he sent out I feel like, this deserves to be seen. He sent out a really nice message along with the knives. If you want to read this, just pause the video and read it, but genuinely sounds like a really nice guy and really serious about what he makes. Came with a really nice pouch. I would have liked maybe some hardware, but it is what it is. I mean, this is a really nice, like, knife pouch, you know, so, like, I appreciate this more than hardware, but, you know, hardware would have been nice to come with, but there's also some stickers it came with, but yeah, that's everything I have for you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Here's the Mist, here's the Rebola V2. Thank you to BlackBalisongs. See you guys next time.